Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from New York City. I think that's the Empire State Building. Was that the Empire State Building?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Those who don't know, one of the staple buildings in New York City, I think.
At least, definitely. And
Yes.
especially in the area in your office.
Yes, absolutely. It's over there somewhere.
To the west.
To the west, of course. We're here at the MLG Studios, casting some StarCraft 2, specifically WCS America Challenger League, a group involving top minigun, Xenocider, and State. We saw State take the 2-0 pretty darn convincingly. Minigun. Excuse me.
Exactly. Minigun and State both kind of similar in all their styles, but Minigun looks so strong there.
Yeah.
What was impressive there is Top had very good blink control, but Minigun probably, I would say, matched him in micro, and then just out-strategized him as far as just played much more solid builds, didn't rely on out-control his opponent, said,
Yep.
If you have to come to me, I'll have a better defender's advantage, and I'll out-control you. Or not out-control you, I'll control enough to win with that advantage, and he did it very convincingly and just totally dismantled Top's aggressive one-base style of PvP. And now we're talking to a State versus a Xenocider. Winner of this will go up against Minigun.
Correct.
Xenocider recently joined EG, which is a big, big move for him. And this is his first tournament, I think, playing under the EG tag.
I think you might be right. He was scheduled to play for DreamHack, but there were some issues or something. He wasn't there. So yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. Of course, it kind of reminds me of the Suppy situation where Suppy kind of out of the blue, at the time, joined Evil Geniuses. It took a lot of people off guard. It was a little bit surprising, but then Suppy just started getting really good.
They know what they're doing, man. Those EG guys.
Yeah, he went all the way to he went to the WCS finals, and he actually got that point. He got that spot, I think, because of course this is 2012 WCS Global Finals. He got that spot because I think Osterg couldn't make it due to school obligations or something like that, and Suppy was able to make it through. And it's just it shows, you know, when you join a big team like that, you have the chance to really make something happen. Of course, in the bottom left-hand location is the guy we're talking about, the blue Terran player. In the bottom left of Whirlwind, he is Xenocider, Team Evil Geniuses. Again, recently joined a year and a half ago. Up-and-comer, right? Very young player. We'll have to see how he can do here. Would love a spot in the Premier League of Season 2. His opponent in the top left is your red Protoss player, represented by Gamefront, currently teamless. Second in the Shoutcraft America finals that happened here at the MLG Studios not too long ago. He is State. Both pretty young guys from the United States trying to make a statement here.
And, they're both pretty young up-and-comers.
Yeah.
But between the two, State's the more established player. State went to several MLG events in 2012. He was kind of a consistent player at a lot of the American events. He was a guy who, he hasn't had his breakout performance yet, and he's shown improvement, like getting second at Shoutcraft America. So he's still the guy's on the growth curve, but he's been in this scene for a little bit. Where Xenocider has played in a couple tournaments, but mostly just in qualifiers for tournaments.
Right.
This is really his first big stage opportunity.
Yeah, he did play in the Challenger League, obviously the bracket stage.
Yes.
Got 0-2'd by Major in the first round. Now State's history in WCS America. He was third in his Premier League, his round of 32 Premier League. Went 0-2 against Scarlet, and then defeated Oz 2-1. And of course lost to Scarlet again 0-2. And then of course dropped down to the Challenger League bracket where he defeated Drunken Boy 2-1 and lost to Theognis 1-2. So he's had his share of PBTs in the Challenger League so far, of course beating Drunken Boy but then losing to Theognis.
That's right. And State has a really cool approach to PvT because he can do some very aggressive builds and he's so meticulous in his timings. Mm-hmm. But he also has very good high Templar control. So if you get to the late game versus this guy, his engagements and his control in those late game battles can be very intimidating as well. Now, Xenocider is a player who's a pretty... He doesn't do anything too crazy as far as TVP goes. In fact, we see that here. 3 barracks before he gets any gas. A little bit more of an older school TVP style. A lot of the players are now starting to change up and attacking fast, going for Widowmine drops into bio instead of opening with the Heavy Marine count. But the Heavy Marine count does do one thing for you. You can try to move across the map. If the Protoss messes up with their mothership core early, either loses it or is forced to use recall or time warp.
Yep.
All of a sudden you can attack them if they don't have photon overcharge available, and they were counting on that to defend. You show up with 9-10 Marines, you can do a lot of damage. Otherwise, you are kind of slowing your tech down a bit, but you do have a nice Marine town in the opening.
That's a nice little pick off there from State. Now Xenocider still doesn't technically know if his opponent has a natural expansion. He hasn't seen that yet, and that's actually pretty important. Mothership Core trying to be annoying there. The natural expansion is Xenocider. Time Warp going down, trying to slow those SCVs down. But that Mothership Core will scuttle away.
And the Time Warp does sometimes make you vulnerable to the mass Marine attack if you're playing a more modern, pseudo-greedy style of PvT, where you go ahead and you tech really fast off a single gateway. But what State is doing, he says, you know what? I'll get my second and third gateway before my robo. Yes, my tech's can be slower than what you see from the other developers Protoss are using nowadays. Yes, I won't have the fast upgrades, but it will allow me to use that time warp. It allows me to do a little bit of harass with the Mothership Core, because if you have the 3 warp gates, you don't need that for defense.
Because you'll be able to warp in enough units to defend against
exactly.
anything that would hit in the next, couple minutes.
And I do think that's a trade that in general is unfavorable for the Protoss. The time warp doesn't really...
Think so?
I mean, what does the time warp really do?
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you rest? Doesn't really do anything. Oh, Force Field not going to be...
Oh, and Reaper's going to scout this. He's going to see that no State's not going for fast upgrades. No State's not going for fast Colossi. He just has gateways.
And behind this, an engineering bay is already done from Xenocider. He's got +1 on the way, so that's something that definitely has to be considered as State proceeds in this game, as both these players proceed in this game, as far as the engineering bay coming down pretty quickly for Xenocider, and no forge for State. So it could be a situation where he could fall behind in upgrades, which he definitely doesn't want. Yes,
and that's very important in PvT, and it's way more important if your opponent is going very Marine heavy, which most Terrans have been doing. Well, looks like they're back ready to get back in the game. And the reason why upgrades are so important...
There you go, Marcus.
There you go.
Marcus, I trust you. Don't screw up. Yeah, zero's next. There. Well, yeah. There. Good job. Right. Fast blink, and the Reaper wasn't able to scout this blink, which is actually pretty darn important.
It is.
Did
but
you
you
see
also,
the robo?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, you can kind of guess that it's there. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal, but
if you don't scout upgrades, right? There's one of two things going on. Either it's a fast third, which is very rare. So. Really, let's not even talk about that.
Okay,
it's basically either going to be a Colossi timing or a blink opening, or they're doing something super crazy like a faster. There's a couple other selections in there, and so he knows it's kind of one of those two things, and he has to kind of account for both of them.
Putting a turret down at his natural expansion. Again, this is something that you have to DTs is a potential threat. Hallucinated Phoenix is going to be sent for State across the map. Now, Blink Stalkers is a little bit interesting. First, like Whirlwind, drops can be very good. Oh my gosh, is that?
More gateways.
Oh, 2 forges, 2 gateways. Okay, I thought it was 4 gateways for a second there. And I'm like, that's pretty crazy. But, gonna be a going to the upgrades. But he's not gonna try to do a Blink Stalker push and kill his opponent. He might try to be annoying, but once Stim gets out, once Medevac gets out, it's pretty dangerous to have Blink Stalkers roaming around the map. But they're very useful as the game goes along if you can micro them properly. If you can take down Medevacs here and there, if you can defend against drops, take down a Marine or a Marauder or 2 while blinking back your Stalkers so they don't die. That's definitely doable. But State, look at his posture right now with his units. All back here in his natural, in his main. This Blink Stalker plays defensive. He's not going to be aggressive with this.
It's a very anti-drop build.
Yes.
We see here from State versus Xenocider, and this is a builder. If Xenocider plays into it, if he goes for drops, and he loses 2-3 Medevacs units, 2 Blink Stalkers for no gain, he's going to be behind. But if he doesn't go for drops, remember, State is delaying his Colossi tech, he's delaying his upgrades, and his mid-game army is going to be slightly weaker if he doesn't get an advantage from having Blink so early.
He's got to be careful here. That's a pretty formidable army at the front door. Has an observer overhead, so able to spot this. One Marine getting loaded up into it. Does he see the blur? Is he going to scan?
If he doesn't scan, this is very dangerous because his army, he doesn't have a whole ton of bio units. If he splits this army in half, Blink Stalkers can easily just destroy whichever half. He sees this many Stalkers, he knows what's going on. He's going to back up, wait for a few more units and 4 Medevacs.
That's a lot of Stalkers, a little bit dangerous here. Okay, Observer coming forward, still seeing what's up. Stim, Marines, and Marauders coming forward. Every Stim is pretty important, though. Again, you're cutting life out of your units when you do that. Of course, Medevac's there to heal, but still.
Xenocider knows what's going on now, and he's progressing upgrades. He's adding Hellbats into composition, which is, it's funny because they're not like super great against Blink Stalkers, but they're actually still pretty good. They tank an insane amount of damage. They're great to mix in versus Colossi, actually, because they take a lot of damage as well.
Oh, so stressful. One misclick, and things can go terribly wrong for either player. So again, a very technical situation here. State moving a probe to potentially take a third, but being delayed a little bit by a Marine.
Oh, Xenocider almost ran a couple medevacs into the wrong zone there. Okay. And the Blink Stalkers, at this point of the game, they're looking for medevac kills. Because he's following up with the Colossi, so he wants to kill his opponent's medevacs, so his opponent can't build Vikings.
The rally!
Just donating a couple units here.
You don't want to do a defensive blink here. Vikings going over issue. Okay. I'm getting a little bit nervous here. Again, rallies are so important in this matchup. If you lose a couple medevacs, that's actually a pretty huge deal. If you lose a couple Vikings, that's actually a pretty huge deal too. But with the addition of the Vikings, we know Xenocider has identified the Colossi tech from his opponent.
And that's super important. If you look at the game so far, units lost. A perfect game for State so far. Xenocider's misrallied a series of units. He's bled away close to 1,000 resources, but he has been able to identify State's build. And this is a builder if the Terran identifies, says, okay, you're going from Blink Stalkers into heavily upgraded Colossi. That means you're going to have a hard time getting Storm up. If I go double Stargate, there may be a timing here, and that's exactly what Xenocider's done. He's gone double Stargates, so we can produce a lot of Vikings, and if he can hit before 2-2 finishes, before Templar Archives finishes...
Just a bunch of Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, if he pulls SCVs now, I think State's going to be in a world of trouble trying to defend that third base. I mean, look at State's army.
Look at the supply difference, too. Yeah.
I mean, that's just...
sure, but...
Yeah, it's relatively...
I mean, the thing is that supply is represented by power units, right?
Exactly.
Colossi are the power unit from State. That's why his supplies lower. Colossi are expected to be very cost efficient. But with the addition of a bunch of Vikings, if you look... Oh my god! Fantastic force fields there from State, isolating these units.
Xenocider he didn't have his Vikings there.
A little bit miscontrolled.
Yeah, he's bleeding away a lot of units. You know, it's almost still a perfect game for State. The units lost is just...
He lost a unit.
He lost his out.
So bad at this game.
I mean, but this is absolutely insane here. State's control is just tearing Xenocider apart now.
Taking down Hellbats or trying to. Blinking back before losing anything. And now what does Xenocider do? There's a timing here before Storm finishes.
Yeah, if he pulls SCVs, I don't think States might be hard pressed. He's only 3 Colossi.
Lots of force fields available though still.
Yeah, you have to pull SCVs to kind of tank the damage while the force fields burn out. Without that, I don't see him coming up this ramp here.
4 Zealots potentially going for a flank, going to be splitting up those units. Force fields need to happen here. The Colossi trying to do the damage from above. The Vikings targeting those guys down, but the Blink Stalkers from State doing a great job targeting down the Vikings before all the Colossi are gone, and the charge lots sprinting towards that Bio army, and Xenocider is going to be forced to back away. State up 156 and 142 in supply. Some reinforcements coming forward here from Xenocider, so State is going to be forced to back away, but he's keeping that third alive, and more importantly, guess what's about to finish?
Storm's almost done. He's even getting War Prism speed here. I mean, State is really
he's
so far.
Yeah. He's so comfortable. Like, while all that was happening, he's like, okay, I feel really good about this battle.
Oh, he's even picking off more Vikings
I don't know about that blink, though. Losing a lot of Stalkers. Some Stalkers going the wrong way. Double Time Warp, losing the Mothership Core.
You just lost all the Stalkers.
Oh, well, except for one. Turn around and fight Stalker.
The one Stalker escaped with 4 hit points.
Stays alive. Double medevac drop. Indecision.
There he
A
goes.
juke. Observer sees it.
There's just so much observers out from State. Look at his map vision. It's actually insane across the minimap. Like a line of red vision.
Oh, I love this. Xenocider sending the medevacs to the left, stimming the rest of units towards that third base. State recognizing this, has those observers. Colossi coming back, and Xenocider is going to be forced to back away. Remember, War Prism speed is done. Oh, medevac barely staying alive. That probe.
And the army's going to get run down here by these Zealots. There's no medevacs here to Storm. Interesting Storm.
Hitting a tree. Okay.
But the charge loss, there's no answer. There's no medevacs. The units are very hurt. They can't keep stimming.
There are Hellbats.
They're actually...
Watch out, Light Templars. Oh, there's the Storms onto the Bio. A lot of Bio going to fall there. And Stalkers coming in from the left-hand side. State taking control here. And now we're in a situation where Xenocider is all split up. He needs to get his army together. But does he have a response to Storm?
Where'd the Terran units go?
They all spread out, and they're all trying to regroup right now. That battle did not go well. And State has a Warp Prism to help reinforce this third. Hey, I think it's dead. Look at how fast State is counterattacking right away, recognizing his opponent is weak, getting that Warp Prism up, warping in those offensive units. And what's going to protect this third base? There's the GG. State takes game number 1 very convincingly over Xenocider. Great control throughout the game. A perfect game for State until like the 8-minute mark.
It was. I mean, the situation where the openings honestly favored Xenocider because State didn't get anything done with the blink. So Xenocider had a slight upgrade advantage, he had a compositional advantage in the mid game, and then he just kept donating unit after unit after unit to State. It just really looked like State was so calm and poised and confident in his mid-game play, and Xenocider was unsure of how to go about playing that mid-game.
It was tricky, but it's not a situation that Xenocider that like he had a lot of misrallied moments, right? Like it's so important to keep your army together as Terran. But again, on the same token, it's in a sense very difficult to manage all these production facilities and all these units roaming across the map. Of course, you want the reinforcements to come as fast as possible, so your army can be much stronger. But what happened was Xenocider was retreating, and again, the rallies were where his army used to be, towards State's army. State recognizing that, taking advantage, getting some free kills, and then just controlling beautifully. And once Storm gets done, and your opponent has no progression into Ghost, I don't know what deals with the Storm, unless you just have a bunch of Marauders, which just laugh at Storms, but even so.
You have to overwhelm them with numbers, and he bled away too many numbers in the early games to really do that. So State takes game one with some just very poised and very just super solid PvT play.
Confident, controlled play. Guys, this is a best of 3. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Xenocider versus State after a quick break.